Hello, my wonderful students. All right, in this video, we are going to tunify Reggie. One of the first things you're going to do is you're going to come into your Redshift render settings, go to Advanced, Global Illumination, turn Global Illumination off, because that's not this game. No global illumination, which is good because stuff is going to render pretty fast. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab material on selection. I've already selected the geo. It's hard to select, so whatever. I'm not going to do it again, but select your geo, grab material on selection. That will bring up your shaders. All right, so I just grabbed our little sticky notes to give us a little bit of a pathway for what we're going to be doing. All right, so first thing we're doing is we've created our toon material. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that shading group node that was attached to that. Let me hit 4 here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to attach it to the shader right there. You see that's going to overwrite that existing shader. That saves me from having to go and select those objects and or faces, right? It's just going to overwrite that right away. So I'm going to connect that, and I'm going to name this. This is the body, so we're going to call this RS Toon Body, like so. And I use RS because I also use Arnold, so I just say, you know, what's Redshift, what's not. And then I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate that. And we're going to do the same thing, so we're just going to call this RS clothing. Sorry, Toon clothing. Toon clothing, like so. You're going to hit enter there. And then again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to do that connection there. All right, so we've replaced our toon materials, and let's strike that part out. All right, next thing is to connect the out color to the surface shader on the material nodes. We've already done that, so we're going to get rid of that. Connect your existing file nodes into the appropriate connections. So basically, we're just going to connect the things that are the things, right? So here, what is this? This is my sRGB. This is my base color. I'm going to make sure it's in sRGB mode, which you shouldn't have to, but if you're dragging these in, make sure you're in sRGB. So I'm going to connect it to the base color, and I'm going to do something a little bit extra here. And I'm going to put add utility nodes as needed, i.e. Redshift color correct. Or a ramp for black and white maps. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do that connection here, but I'm actually going to bring in a Redshift color correct because I find that there's going to be a color correction right there. I find that it kind of desaturates, and you kind of want to control, you know, some contrast and stuff in that character. I don't need this old material anymore, so you can keep it or delete it. I'm going to delete it. Bump map. Of course, we're going to make sure this is a normal map. I'm going to make sure my settings are right. Tangent space normal. Height scale set to 1. And then I'm going to connect that into here. If you are setting up that node for the first time, you're going to type bump, and then you're going to use Redshift bump map. And again, we're going to go tangent 1, and then you're going to do that connection. All right, next thing I got here is I got my roughness, and the roughness here, we're going to just open up this color balance, make sure alpha is luminance, and then we're going to grab this toon body, and I'm going to drag and drop it onto the roughness width here. This is a middle mouse drag, right? And I'm going to drop it right to there. And then finally, I have the metallic. Now, the metallic is a special guy, and we're actually, let's see if there's metallic. This is the body. I don't know if there's any metallic in these textures. Using UDIMs, so let's set this up anyway. So the thing about the metal here is there is no metallic slider. What there is there's an index of refraction, this ILR of 1.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a ramp, and we're going to delete this node right here. Going to make this bigger, right? what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to take this alpha and I'm going to drag it and drop it right there into that V coordinate, right? If you want to be safe, you can just drop it into both coordinates. There's no loss here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and this basically what it's going to do is, this is black and this is white, right? 0 and 1. So in a metalness map, you're going to have pretty much 0 or 1. It's going to be, metalness should be in either or, not like a gradient. So most items by default have an index of refraction of 1.5, right? So that will be metalness black, right? It's going to be 1.5. And then metals usually sit about 4 or 5 or something like that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this black value, and I'm going to change this black value to 1.5. And then the white value that comes in from the map, we're going to change that value, and that value is going to be what a metal value is going to be. So I'm going to press on this, and I'm going to go to value here, and notice everything's desaturated, and then I'll go to, like, say a 6 or something like that. Actually, I think usually metals are around 4 or 5, but let's do a 5. I am too lazy to look it up right now. All right, so now where it's black, it's going to be here on that ramp. It's going to be 1.5. And then here, where it's white on the metal, it's going to be a value of 5. And so then I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to connect it into the index of refraction like that, right? Sorry, for the metallic. I'm a dumbass. All right, so let's just connect that there. And then here, again, we're going to do alpha's luminance. And also for these, once you set these, I also like to do ignore color space, because sometimes colors can be messed with. All right, so that is set up now, and you can see back here is we have that going on, and I can also hit my play, and we can see something going on here. Now right now I have an HDR, and we're going to end up getting rid of that HDR. You can see there's very little difference in this right now. So let's see what happens. Like, it looks like it's still kind of rendering the way it was before, right? And that's okay. All right, so I've got those maps connected, and I'm going to do the same thing. This one down here also has a metalness, I believe. Yeah, that has a metalness, so I'm just going to take this guy, and I'm going to duplicate it, right? We're going to go to 4. Here, I'm going to drag that out alpha. That's metallic. I'll just do that connection. Oh, sorry. I'm going to get rid of this guy anyway. I don't care. Here, we're going to open this up, grab that out alpha, put it there. Again, it needs to be in the V chord, but sometimes when people mess around, they'll go to the U, choose the U chord right here by accident. So no harm, no foul. So also, you should call these your metal ramps. Metal ramp. So now I'm going to come back in here, index of refraction. Again, here I already have that bump map set up, so into there. This guy is my sRGB, my color, so I'm going to connect that to the base color. And then finally here, the roughness, we're going to do the same thing. Is we're going to take this roughness and we're going to grab it into this roughness and width like so. All right, so now we're connected back up, right? And it's pretty much looking like it was looking before, right? We're not really seeing a lot of difference right now. And that's because we're missing that, well, we're not missing. I'm just going to make these guys small now because I don't really care about them anymore, right? They're hooked up, and we're not really going to be adjusting these guys. So if I can visually change what's going on, that's probably a good idea. So there we go. All right. And I can do the same right here as well. These things are all pretty much written in stone, so I don't really care about them. Okay, so we've done our connection. Like so. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create ramps, and then we're going to get this start looking more like a tune, right? And then after we do the setup, then we'll start actually getting it going. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create another ramp. Now I'm going to delete that little extra coming out of it. It doesn't matter what kind of ramp you create. If you create this one by accident, just grab that ramp, delete all the extra stuff, and now I have a ramp. A ramp is a ramp. There's no other there's no other thing to it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to name it these tone maps. So I have a base color tone map, I have a reflection tone map, and I have a rim tone map. And this is right here. This is what gives that flat cartoon-like feel. So we're going to duplicate these guys here, like so. And then here, I'm going to call this master base color tone map. Oops. Color tone map. I'm going to call this master reflection RFL tone map. And then finally we're going to call this one master rim tone map, like so. Alright, so with our tone maps corrected, we're not going to adjust them right now. Now we're just going to connect them like we connected before. So I'm going to put them down here though, and put them in between these two. Now the reason why we're actually doing this is because what you don't want to do is you don't want to change something on this one and then have to go change it into this one. So by creating a sort of a master for something, we can plug this into how many ever nodes that you have, right? And we're going to be driving this all at once on your character. And yeah, if you don't really understand, you'll start to understand pretty quick. All right, so I'm going to take this tone map here. I'm going to just middle drag into the that one there. I'm going to just adjust the order here. And then we have the reflection tone map goes into this tone map port, not this tone map layer mask port. And then finally, the rim light is going to go into that tone map port right there. Now I'm going to select this guy and I'm going to do those same connections. Connect that one, and connect that one. Now you see here, this is acting exactly the same as it was before. It's looking very not different. Yeah, not different at all. Now I can give you a little taste of what's going to happen when I take that tone map and I bring it down. Watch what I'm doing here. I'm crunching up that character there. I'm flattening him out. You see I got that dark there now. Right? So that's basically how these tone maps work. Is it just sort of happens to control what's going on. Not what's going on, but how that light is working. Right now, the reason why it looks the same is because this is what happens in the render engine regardless, right? Is you get a light, the light comes down, hits the character, and the brightest spot is the white value, and then it will just slowly fade to the black value, right? Now you might notice before it had a little bit of a yellow tinge to it because it was a little bit warm. So if I come here and I give a different color to it, see how I get that warmth back, right? We no longer get light color from our lights. We're getting color from our tone maps. They're the ones that kind of override that. Okay, so let's come over here, see what we got. So here we created a ramp node. We did that. We renamed our ramp nodes, and we did that. And now we connected the 3 tone maps to our shader. So there we go. So now we're kind of set up. There's still some more setup to do, but we'll talk about why we're doing some things right now. So first thing, here again, we're talking about the tone map, taking these two things together, and by bringing these two guys together, and let's be a little bit radical in this. I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab a red or something like that, right? And then where this black is, I'm going to come in and grab something like a blue. go a little bit darker with that blue, a little less saturation, and maybe a little less crazy with that red. I'm going to do something like that, right? So now here, as I'm coming along, you see how I'm getting this nice shadow coming in here, and I'm getting that shadow coming in there, right? And again, this is not being affected by our light at all. So right now, what we have in the scene is we have a sky dome lighting it. And the HDRIs don't really make sense when we're doing it, so I'm going to turn that off. Oops, that's the wrong one. This one right here is the one that's lighting. The other one I'm just using for a backdrop. Now here, you see that even though there's no lighting in this scene, he's still lit, except he's I mean, that's it. He's still lit. That's because the black value has this tone map applied to it. So if I bring this black value up, you see how I'm just getting him flat lit. He's lit really flat right now, right? All it's doing is just applying that. There's no light in this scene, so that's the shadow, right? Normally, this ramp is going to be black, and then he's going to be black, and I'm going to see that silhouette. But if I bring this value up, then we'll start to see some things. All right, so a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll switch this interpolation type to none when they're playing with these maps, and this is going to give you a hard line. But what we also want to do is we want to actually add a light source in here. So because I'm outside, I am going to use a direction light. Usually what you want to do is you want to use those direction lights. So I'm just going to come in here, I'm going to grab a physical light, I'm going to bring it over here, make it big. Now this right here is not a direction light. This is like your normal area light, and I don't necessarily want to use an area light because it's going to give me a softer feel. If I'm going for something hard, I don't really want that, right? So we're going to change this to directional. I'm going to put this value at 1, and then I'll up the exposure like so. Now you can see this white coming on here, and that white, what that is that's our roughness going on, right? By our spec. Naturally, it's going to be on, and so I can come and I can turn this off, right? Or I can lower it to reduce the amount of strength that happens to have. And again, you can see how I got the clothing is changing colors, right? Because they are sharing that same object, right? So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. I'm going to give this a little coolness, right? And then here, I'm going to go to this guy, and we're going to maybe push this a little more to a yellow, and then we're going to bring that down a bit. That's going to give us something more of what the sun is giving us. Now here, I went to the reflection, and I brought down that reflection value, right? Because I'm finding it's too shiny, and I don't really like that. But here, I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to do that here. Now, this is a pain in the butt, right? Like any change I make, I'm going to have to go and make multiple changes to how many ever nodes I happen to have at the time. So here, how I can get rid of that is I can add something called a scalar. So we're going to add Redshift scalars. Redshift scalar. Actually, I think it's a user data scalar. I think that's what it's called. To attributes that we want to change. Attributes that we want to change, like the weight and like thickness, weight, thickness, thickness. Basically, any one channel slider. So here, I should type these out. Pause and I'll type these out. All right, so here, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to type scalar. This is going to give me a Redshift data, user data scalar. So we're going to take this guy, and I'm going to call this master. reflection weight, right? Riffle weight, like so, right? Then I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to connect it here. And then watch it disappear here once I connect it to the bottom one. And so now I have that there, right? So now I can just drive this value. Oops, control's not working, right? And it's going to make it bright, or it's going to make it dark. Now you're saying, Bud Kent, this that looks all soft and it doesn't look toony, right? Like here I got that tune sharpness going on, and it's like you're 100% right. It's because now what we need to do in this reflective tone map, we need to do the same thing we did in the other tone map, right? So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do something like this. I'll bring that black value up, and I'll bring this white value down. Now, you give me a sec. Sorry, sleeping cat had a nightmare. All right, so now you might be wondering how this works, right? So if this brightest part is 1 and then darkest part is going to be 0, right? And so that value here, you see as I move these sliders, this goes between 1 and 0. And so what this is doing, it's talking about the brightness of the surface, right? So here, as I bring this up, we're going to start crunching off that value, right? And then we're going to get these two guys. They're going to come together like so, right? And then that's how we can get that sort of spec to start working. Now, here, I might not want a shared spec or spec reflected weight, because some things inherently are going to be shinier than other things. So really that master tone map and that master reflective weight need to be thought about. On characters, it's not so rough to go and just change things. But if you have something like an environment where it's all tuned, you definitely kind of just want to have a consistent thing throughout and do overrides. So the question here is then, is how can I make like an override on, like, say I don't want this here, but I want that here, but I have a reflection. Well, what I can do is I can do something here. I can actually give this a name. So I'm going to call this name riffle weight, like so. So by giving it this name riffle weight, what I can do is I can actually go and select, say, something like the pants, the object, and I think this is my select object. So I'm going to select the pants right here. And I'm going to hit, I hope you knew about that, a little button there. It's going to do that. And so here I have the pants selected. If we go to the outliner, just trust me, the pants are selected. You can see the pants are selected. And I'm going to go to edit, and we're going to add attribute, right? That's going to bring up the attribute, and I'm going to call this riffle weight, like so. Hopefully I spelled it right. I'm just going to Control C this and paste it in there if I screwed it up. I'm going to make sure it's at float, and then I'm going to hit add, and see that creates that little value there on the pants. And I'm going to come over here, hit Control A, and I'm going to make sure that these are the same. So I'm going to hit riffle weight on that again and hit enter, like so. And actually, dude, are you doing what I want you to do? Let me select the pants again. Let's go into the attribute node here, extra attributes. Actually, it should have turned off. I don't know why you're making me a liar, bro. 1, 0, come on, pants. 0, there we go. I don't know why it wasn't updated before, but there we go, turned off, right? So maybe I want that on the body, maybe I don't want that on another thing. Now I can sit here and I can change this value as it was really cranked up, right? And I can just bring that down, and that's gonna adjust that there, right? So that's kind of how we can, have our reflection. Honestly, I'm not wild about reflections on these. So you know, take that for what it is, or for on the toon shaders. Okay, so other values that we're actually going to care about is we're going to care about the rim light and the width and stuff like that. So let's come over here, and we're just going to grab this guy, and we did that, so we're going to strike that out, and we're going to take that little there. So pause for a quick sec. All right, I'm going to cross that off a little too early, because what I want to do here is I want to go into our rim light, and I always like a nice rim light, get that 3-point lighting. See how I got that turned on there? And that's pretty nice effect. So again, because we have this tone map, is I want to put it on the entire object because it kind of looks funny if it's not. The exception is the hair. If you watch anime, you'll see a lot of times they'll have hair have the rim light and nothing else really has that rim light going on. So we can play with this rim light here. And then also we have the width of the hair of that rim light, and you definitely want to be able to control this as well. So we're going to come in, and I'm just going to use another data scaler, right? So we're going to go data scaler, or you can just type scaler because there's only one scaler, and that's this guy. And so here we're going to call this my RS, or sorry, my master rim weight, right? Rim weight, right? And then this attribute name, I'm just going to call this rim. Actually, you know what? Let's call it rim weight. Sure, whatever. Let's be consistent with our naming. So I'm going to call this rim weight, and I'm going to take this guy again, and we're just going to connect this into weight. And again, when I'm doing these connections, I'm doing a middle drag, right? Middle drag that. There we go. And now if I take this control and I'm going to test that control, there you go. Beautiful. All right. So I'm just going to leave that on right now. And then we're going to bring in another scaler. Redshift data scaler here. And then this one we're going to name RS, sorry, not RS, master rim width, like so. Now, the reason why I'm not putting all this in here is because, again, it's what you want. However, usually I set this up. If you don't want rim lights, then don't add this because that doesn't make sense, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it into the width, and then I'm going to do the same thing up here, drop it into the width, and then by default it's at 0, so let's just take this for a little bit of a drive. There we go. So we know that's working. And then the attribute name here, we're going to call this our rim width, like so, right? So again, we can just select that object with that little ability we have there to select the objects that way. Honestly, it's a lot better than hunting for them. So we can select the object and add the overrides if we need to get rid of something. Now these other ones I tend not to play with, as I find their the effect. I haven't figured out what the actually effect is supposed to do here for these two guys. Now at this point, once we have this on, this is where we can come into our master rim tone map, and we can play with the how that light is going to work here. And again, we can come up and we can do this with the black and white, right? But that's really not going to do that much, except for give us like some blackness going on in some areas. Generally, actually, I think it gets eliminated or whatever. But this is sort of giving me that same sort of thinness, so that doesn't really make sense. So, but what I can do is I can do something like this: is I can go into so I got that blue background. I'm going to switch. I don't know. I'm going to come into a bluer color here, like so, and then I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm going to kill this off like that, and then I'm going to go up a level like this, go like that, and then maybe do like a halfway point right? So now I have that sort of brightness coming in, right? And maybe I want to do a little shift in the tone. Actually, it would be in here. I want to take that saturation, push that more to white because that's going to give me that little edge part right there, right? And then I can bring these guys in. Now again, I have this sort of gradation happening between them. If I don't want the gradation, I can just switch this to none, right? Now I'm going to play with this width a bit. Grab that, that's the weight. Where's my width? Here's my width. I'm going to bring this down, something like that, right? So that's how I can start getting some rim light with it. Here I'm not too sure if I'm not crazy about what I just did, to tell you the truth. Let's come back at that a little bit of a different way, and I'm going to push this more to a harder white. And then I'm going to give this actually maybe make this really thin. And then when you make it really thin, then you'll get just sort of like that little line coating in there. And let's see. So I can go a little bit darker on this. And again, I kind of want it brighter than what my shadow is, because then it doesn't really make sense otherwise. So I can do something like that. Or I don't have to make it a try one, right? I can make it just 3 or 2 or something like that. I'm just trying to show how that can actually work. I have a feeling it will look better if I... Come on there, bro. Alt. There we go. Alright. I have a feeling it will look better if I come into the weight and I reduce the weight. Oh, sorry, that's my reflective weight. Screwed that up. Rim weight right there. And let's bring this down to something like that. And let's do the width. And I'm going to bring that width down as well. There you go. So it's going to catch these angles more, right? Just be careful, because here it's catching his nose, and I'm not super crazy about that. So what I could do is select something like his head, and then adjust that in particular. So I'm going to go rim weight here. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit more. Something like that. Right. All right. Now, another element we're missing is the contours, and I'm gonna do a follow-up video on how to get our contours working. All right. So this is pretty much the setup. There's not a lot more to it. Actually, there is one more thing to it that we can do. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna create another light. So we're gonna do a physical light. And we're gonna grab this guy here, and I'm gonna bring that over. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with this guy. I'm gonna turn it into directional light. However, with this light, I'm going to rename this light to, let's go in the outliner and rename it. I don't have any problems. I'm going to call this RS Rim Light, like that, right? And so what I can do with this rim light is I can take it and I'm going to bring it back like this. And I'm going to go to these guys here. And you see this little light list right here? So I'm going to take that rim light, and I'll just copy the name, Control C. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go into this light list. I'm going to paste that there, and I'm going to hit that little plus button. Or is that a plus? Yeah, that's a plus. So I'm going to do that, and no light selected. Maybe middle drag. Did that replace it? I don't know if that replaced it. Oh shoot, that went into the tone map. I'm such an idiot. Let's adjust that. Alright, master rim light, go. Let's try that again. Rim light. Enter. Alright, so here if I start going like this, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was working. It's coming along like that. I just got to, I got it on the other thing, right? So here, I believe it's just taking the angle. Or actually, maybe it wasn't working. Let go. Let's see. Let me put it in the other one as well. RS rim light, middle drag, boom. Let's delete that. Actually, it might just be hitting enter. A plus. No light selected. How come you're not selecting my light, bro? Why do you hate freedom? Alright, I'm going to do a quick pause. I just forgot how to do this, but... Alright, sorry, I just remembered this wrong, thinking that this wasn't the way to do it when I said... I told someone to do it this way first, and I thought it failed, but whatever. Actually, let me write this down. Alright, so I have it written down here. In my little notes. Now, to add a rim light, like a specific rim light, like right now this rim light is just affecting everything, but sometimes you want the rim light to go against the highlight on that shadow side, or sometimes you want it to be on the lit side and only on those sides. So what you can do is you can attach that to a light. Remember, like you'd use like a spotlight or something if you're indoors, right? As you know, the direction lights only work when there's no roof. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the light, and then I'm going to shift select. So I got both selected at the same time, the toon body. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to add that little plus right there, right? And so you see it turned off on some of the other parts. What we can also do is make this width just a little bit wider at the moment, just so we can see it at work, right? So I'm going to do the same thing again. So select my light, shift select this, and then we're going to hit that little plus right there, right? And there you go. So it's turned off. Now, if I sit here and I start rotating this light, right, you'll see that I'm starting to get my my rim light coming back in, right? So here it's catching on that side, or I can have it come more down on the character and maybe come more from this side, something like that, right? So I can catch it that way, like so. Make that highlight there. And again, I need to come up with a better color. I don't think that color combination is working very well right there. All right, so that finishes off this part of this video, and then the next video we'll go over the contour maps. Thanks very much.